Hi there. In this video, we'll take a look at one of the multiple choice problems from the course description from the College Board for the AP Calculus AB course. Here we're looking at problem 1, and we're presented with a limit of something, and we're supposed to find out what that limit is. By the way, this question is designed to assess students' understanding of something about derivatives. In particular, this question is designed to find out if students know that the derivative is defined as the limit of a difference quotient, and then how to find that limit using knowledge of derivatives. Let me just make a comment about this phrase, difference quotient. You can sort of instantly tell whether you get it or not if you recognize, number one, that this is a slope, and that when you attach a limit, it's a derivative. If you're seeing this as a derivative, you're good to go. If you don't recognize it as a derivative, you probably need to watch this video. Or if you know it's a derivative but don't know how to pick the right answer, need this video. Okay, so just a quick comment about the word difference quotient. Going back to just algebra 1 for 2 seconds, the slope formula is the change in y divided by the change in x. So that's the quotient part, a ratio or quotient. Okay, and we can expand that formula as follows, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And now we see the difference component. All right, the difference of the inputs, the difference of the outputs. And so that whole expression is known as a difference quotient. And if we attach a limit to that and let those two inputs get close to each other, to where the second one approaches the first, well, now we're talking about a derivative. Okay, so how do you do this problem in particular? Well, let's take a look. This problem appears to be about the cosine function in some fashion. So I've sketched right here a graph of the cosine function over one full period. And it appears as though 3 pi over 2 is an important input to the cosine function. So let me just start labeling 0, 1/2 pi, here's pi, and here's 1/2 pi, 3 pi over 2. And over here we're at one full period with 2 pi. Okay, so we're supposed to focus on 3 pi over 2, okay? And then this other input is something that's a little bit larger than 3 pi over 2. So let me just mark that on here. Here's 3 pi over 2 plus just a little bit more. Okay? And if we look at what the function does right there, okay, this is the output that goes along with the cosine of 3 pi over 2 plus h. And the y-coordinate of this guy, which apparently is 0, is the cosine of 3 pi over 2. Okay, so what we're asked to do is find the limit of this expression, okay? And if the distance between these guys is called h, all right, we would like to know what is the ratio of the difference in the two outputs divided by the difference in the two inputs. In other words, what is the slope of this line right here? Okay, and in particular, how does the slope behave as h approaches 0? Well, let's use technology to see what the answer should be. Okay, so this is just a portion of the cosine graph centered around the point 3 pi over 2, and I call that point C. Point B is just some other point on the cosine graph, and delta y is the vertical distance, delta x is horizontal distance, and you can see that the slope right now is 9/10. Notice as I move B closer to C, delta x is shrinking towards 0, which is what we want, and just observe what happens to the slope value. Okay, it looks as though as delta x shrinks to 0, or as h shrinks to 0, the slope has value 1. Okay, and let me just go through and make a comment about test-taking skills. All right, if you're able to understand that you're being asked to find slope around 3 pi over 2, you could instantly say, well, this can't be right. The slope doesn't look like it's 0 at all. It can't be a negative slope. A negative number would be going down. This slope is going up, so that can't be right. And so now you've eliminated two choices without even thinking very hard at all. Okay. All right. So that is the conceptual understanding that a person should have to choose the correct answer here. Let me now go through this without any graphs or any commentary in the same way that I would do this problem if I were sitting down to take an AP test. And so for that reason, I'll just put up a timer and give myself up to 1 hour to complete this. Just kidding. But this is how I would attack this if I were doing the problem on an AP exam. Boom. Looks like something to do with the cosine function. So let me define fx as the cosine of x. I recognize that this is a derivative, so I'm going to write down the formula for the derivative of the cosine function. And we've learned that that's this. Input is 3 pi over 2, so let me go ahead and throw that value into the derivative formula, 3 pi over 2. And now I can get the answer by evaluating this expression right here. Quickly visualize the unit circle. Go to half a whole 1.5 pi over 2. And I know that the sign is -1 right there, so this should be the opposite of that value, which is 1. Circle A, and that took me almost exactly 45 seconds right there. Okay, so the answer is 1. We found it using the derivative formula for the cosine function, and the visual approach confirms that the slope is indeed 1. The technology confirms that the slope is indeed 1. And that's pretty much it. So again, the point of the question is to see, do you know that a derivative is a difference quotient? And if you do, then you are in good shape. Hope this video was helpful to you. See you next time.